right, all right. Testing, testing. You hear me, Derek?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro.
All right, well, let's get into it. This is another episode of Big J's Let's Talk. So let's talk some sports. And tonight we're going to revisit our conversation about AAU basketball. Earlier this week, we were talking with Jeremiah Howard, and he was giving us some pros and cons about the AAU basketball circuit versus the high school organized ball circuit. And so tonight, I wanted to dig a little deeper into that conversation, and I'm bringing on a guy. We served together in the military for years. Very solid guy, and now outside the military, he's become a coach, and he's got his own AAU team. And so he's going to come and give us some insights on AAU ball that we weren't able to get the last time, and just go ahead and fill everything out for us. So Derek, guy, thank you for coming, and I appreciate you so much for being here, brother.
Well, thank you for having me on, Matt. It's been a while. Like I said, we go back for God knows how long. Good friend of mine, and glad to see you doing good. Let's get right into this little topic about we got high school ball, AAU ball, and I live, when we started together, we lived in Texas. So I saw a little bit of it in Texas, saw things a little differently from the parental standpoint, from having been a player for so long.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I saw was parents getting hustled because they, coach will see little Johnny at the recreation center and promise him he can make him into the next Zion. And Johnny goes home and tells mommy, and, no mom wants to tell, their son no, especially when they pull it on they tell dad. And of course, we as dads, we want our sons to go off and do things and, go off and do great things, especially in the sports realm. But a lot of times these guys, your child is a dollar sign. Don't get me wrong, there are good, awesome coaches out there. There's good, solid programs out there. But for the most part, I won't say that for the most part, there's a lot of snakes in the grass out there.
Yeah, this is what I was alluding to the other night. When we started to have technical difficulties, the scammers out there who trying to seize an opportunity and capitalize on a young man's dream. My son, he's playing AAU ball right now, and me as a father, I'm looking at it from a student athlete parent standpoint right now. I don't know much about the AAU league, but I do want to know for his sake, and so that I can help to steer him in the right direction. So what are some things that I need to look for as far as these coaches go?
So one of the things, like you hit the nail on the head, they are student athletes. Keyword there first being student. If a coach is like literally, well, don't worry about your grade. Don't get me wrong, there are coaches who are going to say that, who's not worried about your child getting in to college, then that's the wrong person, because they still have to meet NCAA requirements to get into college, to play D1, D2, NAIA. There's a called the NCAA or NAIA clearinghouse. They have to meet those requirements. There's certain classes they have to take, certain GPA they have to maintain. And then on top of it, they still have to get into the college. They still have to be able to get into the college. They have to get certain SAT scores. And a lot of these coaches are just, oh, hey, let's go play. It's because you failed chemistry, so you're out for 3 to 6 weeks. We can still use you over here on AAU. That coach should be more concerned about that young man or young lady getting those grades, because at the end of the day, they're not, let's just be for real. Out of all the young men that are going to cross this stage in the next few days that play basketball, less than 1% of them are going to make it to the NBA. across
Wow.
nation. Okay.
Wow.
And it's 3 to 5% that even make it to play at some sort of collegiate level.
Okay, let me get this question well, not a question, but pretty much a statement. FYF Sports Debate says AAU basketball as constructed today is making players worse. Even current players like RJ Hampton have admitted it simply because one-on-one highlight show. AAU basketball is a tool now, not real hoops. How you feel about that, Derek? Because I do believe that you do get some benefit out of AAU basketball, as we see with guys like, the route that LaMelo Ball came.
Okay.
A lot of that was highlighted through AAU. So
what ends up happening with that is, a coach will go see a kid who's got talent, okay, who's really, really good. And then he'll let that kid do whatever he wants. Yeah. If it's time to work out, he shows up when he wants to practice. If he doesn't show up to practice, he's still starting. There's no real accountability for those players. So how can you explain? I've seen that, like I said, I started off in Texas. I live in Oklahoma now. I see that, there's a particular point guard here in the state that he can just do whatever he wants. If a coach tries to tell him something, he just moves over to the next team because everybody wants him. When we first moved here last summer, I literally saw him play with 16 different teams in a summer.
Wow. So do you think that translates over to like players' attitudes in the NBA now?
That not just attitudes in the NBA, that trickles all the way down to middle school, 7th grade ball. I've seen players talk crazy to coaches. Coaches can't do anything. One of the things that I saw that I liked when I was in Texas is some of the schools actually worked with AAU programs, and kids were filtered into the school. So they literally played together year round, everything that they did.
Wow.
So, and to be honest, not saying names, not putting anybody out there, but you'll see why certain programs, whether it's basketball or football, those schools win championships because those kids have been playing together since they could walk, and so they end up all the way. Pretty much, some of them even end up in college together. They get recruited for everything together.
Wow. Yeah, that's my son was alluding to that the other day as well when I asked him the question, what can high schools and AAU do to come together? And that was exactly what he said to me as far as the guys who play on the basketball team for the school have an AAU team outside of that, and they play all year round and they have that harmony. Like you say, that's a great point, man. That's a great point. So all right, now me as a dad, hold up, let me see. I got another question. It said college basketball has always been filled with teams collecting the best talent in the country. That is not the problem. AAU basketball is no longer about developing players, it's about image. Well,
It's more
I'll
than
say,
that.
man, imagery is going to play a major part for the simple fact that they're trying to capitalize on these players. We know that coming out of high school, a lot of these guys are being recruited in high school, in middle school, because they see the dollar value in this kid, and when they get to the college level and things like that, millions are made off of these kids' jerseys and things like that. So it's capitalism and it's a business.
As far as developing, well, number one, it's more than just the imagery at the AAU level, it's the egos, in my opinion. I've heard coaches, reliving their dreams. Oh, when I was your age, this is what I could do. Why aren't you doing this? This is what I did. Well, the game has evolved. I realized that when I played in the 90s, that we came up on the New York Knicks, Chicago Bulls, or you was gonna go at it and you was gonna feel it for 2 or 3 days afterwards. These kids are more athletic, they're stronger, faster, but they don't bang. They don't. So like here, like I said, here in Oklahoma, they don't touch. If you blow in somebody's direction, they're on the ground. It kills me because these players that have so much talent, they could be so much more because they're not being developed. And another thing that's going on is the trainers that come up and they're charging $25 to $50 an hour and promising, making illusions of grandeur, saying that you're going to get a D1 scholarship if you train with me.
Wow.
And what we got here?
See, the unfortunate reality of LaMelo Ball playing AAU is that his fame came at the price of the other players on that team. Win or lose, the cameras were focused on him. It was not about basketball. Yeah, but Big J had brought up a point that a couple of those guys, besides the Ball brothers, also went off to good schools. I think it said Loyola Marymount was one of the schools, and another good university. So it wasn't just the Ball boys. People like to say that LaVar was just there focusing on his boys. Yeah, in a sense, because that's what a dad is going to do. But at the same time, those other guys didn't just get left behind. They weren't just pawns. He helped those guys to get to the next level as well, and also mentored a lot of those guys outside of basketball.
See, that's one thing a lot of people don't understand. So at first, I was looking at what LaVar Ball did, and I was like, who is this dude? Why is he? And he was just honestly a dad who believed in his sons, and that's what we're number one. When you help hold that little man, that little girl, that's one of the promises that you make. You're going to believe in everything that they do, and you're going to back them. So he didn't do anything wrong, in my opinion. Hindsight 2020, and then starting the team that he did, and if you really think about it, he marketed his kids, not just his kids, but the whole team, the players, and the way that he did it was actually genius because he got free marketing for his players, his team, and didn't pay one dime for it. Yeah, he's on ESPN. Okay, what's the best thing that we as men do? We talk trash on sports. And so then you add his son into it, his son's into it, he's going to double, triple down any day of the week. Because I tell you right now, I have 4 sons. I'll tell you right now, I take them over any team LeBron got right now. Because you know what? Those are my sons. I believe in my sons. And if anybody's going to believe in him, that's going to be me. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. And that was one of my biggest things right there is I'm going to always believe in my sons no matter what. And now you've got NBA players who are buying their own teams. And so they're actually, while on one hand they're complaining about AAU basketball, on the flip side, they have their own AAU teams, and so they have their own players coming up through their own AAU teams, and they have a vested interest in these young guys. So how do you feel about it's the scale is off, the balance is off when you have these loaded teams by these NBA players, and then you have these other teams down here who get no shine whatsoever. How do you feel about that, man?
I'm laughing about that is because my 16-year-old plays for one of those teams. And so he gets exposure just on that alone. He goes to showcases that I'm not trying to say names, but this is the former NBA player who very very famous in the NBA, hosts these showcases and invites college coaches out live streams. And because of his name, and this is his organization. Oh well, if these kids made his team, they gotta be legit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from the players from, because there's a lot of these mom and pop organization teams that the kids are dogs, and I don't mean it chihuahua. I mean straight werewolves that will go hard on you. I got it. There's a young man here that I wish I had the film to show you. Had the dunk of the year, and that was the first game. He came down the middle and leaned on all 5 players on the other. He's 6 foot tall.
Ooh.
Yeah, leaned and then rocked with it. Just old school Jordan, and just like. But get this, that was his only play of the season. He got benched. So that's the other problem, like we were talking about earlier, attitudes. His attitude got really bad.
Okay, so that right there is one of the things that I can't argue against, because I was trying to find a good argument for it, but what I've seen, the attitudes they don't have any discipline, because there's no real consequence. And when you have no real consequence, you're gonna say and do whatever. There's no threat or anything like that. Let's see. He says AAU is a circus, no longer about winning. A kid can get a ball is life highlight and lose by 30. I said something about this earlier, because if it's a circus, then the only way the people that you would have to hold accountable are all of these many NBA players who have these teams. Because if it's become like this, but a lot of these teams that get the exposure are owned by NBA players, then they have a responsibility to clean that stuff up. What do you think? What would you think about that?
Like originally, I feel like a lot of the players they got into it to give back to their respective communities. There's one particular player in Texas. His team started off in the hood, and he paid for everything. Okay. And it was about giving back. But then now, like just like that comment said, a kid can get a ball of life highlight and lose by 30, 40 points. Play no defense. It's like, well, where's the fundamentals of that? Where's the pride in that? Of coming back and trying to win the game. You know what I mean? And that, like I tell my players, and my son, a lot of times you'll see these guys that are making these highlight moves, and then the highlight is against somebody who's subpar.
Yes.
And I have a rule myself. You got 3 dribbles, you need to pass the ball off. And you'll see these guys 8, 9, 10 dribbles. Well, what is all this? Somebody's open, because obviously you ain't. That's my thought process. We're in a half-court set, you got 3 dribbles, because you can't go down the lane dribbling 10 times without somebody taking it from you. Oh, yeah, kid, coach. No, you can't. No, you can't.
Yeah, so, and that's it. That's it, because development is what was one of the selling points that they gave my son to play AAU ball. You can develop more while school off season, and you can get sharper in this and that. But when it came down to him playing, he never really had practices or anything like that. So his development was minimal at the best.
From
Yeah.
And that was something that worried me.
from our
When I
Twitter account, I have someone saying that Marcus Smart of the Boston Celtics
Hmm.
has a AAU team. He
Yeah.
says, "How is it that all these individuals who play sports are capitalizing on the future of these young men and no one's saying anything about it?"
And that was my whole point, because it seems to me, while on one hand they're criticizing AAU ball, a whole lot of AAU things are being implemented into the NBA. And that was one of my points earlier. They talk about how in AAU they'll get the best in that city and make a team and then go out and dominate. But that's the same thing you see the Lakers doing and you see the Nets doing. They're going and getting their big three or big four, and they're going out and dominating their respective leagues. So, hey Jeremiah, how you doing, man? But yeah, and that's the whole point. They'll, on one hand, you can't sit there and complain about AAU, but at the same time, the whole NBA is starting to turn into the AAU league itself.
Yeah, and like what they're talking about is like, in the case of Marcus Smart, and all these other guys that have their teams. So what they do is, and those of you that are listening in the Dallas area, you'll know what I'm talking about. Um, this person has a team, has his own arena. So then he puts on the showcase, and then so the teams have to pay a price to get into the showcase. Mom and daddy got to pay to get in. Then little Johnny's little sister wants a hot dog. You got to pay that. Some other places you got to pay for parking. So yeah, and these guys, it's the AAU has become a more of a cash cow than anything else. It's not about. Yes, there are kids that come great from AAU, but it's more of let's see what we can get out of this young man or this young lady off my name, because playing for these teams, parents think, oh, and even players think, if I pay for a Nike team, an Adidas team, a Converse team, a Puma team, that's gonna put me higher on the level. And for some coaches, it does.
Yeah.
And like with my son's team, he can only wear apparel from that team is sponsored by.
Wow.
If he comes in, he can't even play in the game if he comes in with a rival company's product on.
See, that reinforces a point that I was saying the other day. I was saying about Zion Williamson. They told him if he's going to wear what was it, Adidas, then he has to go to a school that is sponsored by Adidas.
Yep.
And I was like, there's a direct link to these schools, these shoe brands, and the NBA. So now where the NBA used to, they're going down, and they took the idea of the JBA from LaVar Ball by turning the D League into the G League. So now they're taking this idea from the AAU and giving these guys this concept of, well, you don't need to go to college. You can just come through the G League route and you can bypass all of that other stuff, and that's your ticket in. So how do you feel about that message being sent?
Well, you already know me. I'm big on education.
Yeah.
I'm married to a woman that's going for a PhD. So, so you already know how my household is. Just wait, real quick. Your niece is graduating next Saturday with a 5.2 GPA.
That's what I'm talking about.
So,
yes.
So I just want to let you know that. So we'll be in Texas to watch her walk the stage.
Absolutely beautiful.
So these young men, let's just be for real. And I know somebody's going. When I say this, they're listening. I know I'm gonna touch somebody's feelings when I say this, but a hit dog will always holler.
Yeah.
This is the way out for a lot of young black men, is to be able to put that ball in the hoop. Like I said earlier, only 1% of these young men that are walking across the stage here in the next few days are going to make it to the NBA. Less than 1%, really. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
They need to have that degree. You came up like I did, having to, we joined the Army to make a better life for ourselves. And the people always ask, well, would you want your child to do that? Why? I busted my rear end so they wouldn't have to. If they want to, they can, but I would rather they not. Okay.
There was someone on Twitter that said, "Why is it that the NBA can get away with slandering young people, and only 1% of those AAU players end up going to college, and the rest of them go back to the quote unquote hood?"
Well,
Because
go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. I'll come in after you.
Okay. A lot of them have those delusions of grandeur that these teams are promising them stuff, and that they're going to make it they're going to get them to the NBA. They're going to do this. They're going to do that, and nothing actually happens. And so yes, they end up back. So they fell out of college, especially the ones that are Mr. It on their high school campus. And then they get to college and they're not it anymore. They're, a little guppy in a big ocean, and they have to earn their way onto the team. They can't. Their ego can't take that. Yes, people don't like this word, but there's a little bit of hazing. So yeah, you got to help load all the upperclassmen's bags when it's time to go to the game, or you got to clean up something, because you have to earn your way.
Yeah.
Mac, we learned that in the military, being E1s, E2s, we got the dirty jobs at the beginning, but as people saw our responsibility, we grew. A lot of these kids don't understand that. So the NBA, the NBA number one gets away with it because they're huge. They're global. Let's just be for real.
On Facebook it says, "Is the AAU controlled by NBA dollars?"
For the most part, yes. If you look at these NBA players that every major NBA player has a team. Like I said, I live in Oklahoma. We got Buddy Buckets, Team Griffin, Trey Young. That's 3 teams right here. And they go all the way from second grade to seniors in high school.
Yep.
And
so they're already capitalizing on these young men from their early age. And that was my whole point. The NBA has a monopoly. They're knocking everybody off the scene, just like they did knocking the JBA off the scene. Now they're coming down to the AAU scene and they're monopolizing the AAU scene. So really, what is the argument? Because ultimately the NBA has control over all facets coming into the system now. That was the argument with LaMelo Ball. Well, he's making a new way. Well, they intercepted that. Now they done went down to their to the G leagues, and now they've intercepted that. So they're gonna capitalize on every athlete that I see coming into sports entertainment. Period.
If you look at, like, for instance, you want to talk about a monopoly. You know who runs what is it? I think it's Virginia or West Virginia. I can't remember where he's from. Allen Iverson runs that.
Wow.
He runs that. He runs that whole everything. He is if it's a tournament that he's hosting, number one, he's there, so it's accessible. Yeah. So he's a NBA legend. So every kid wants to be there. Okay. And
yeah,
so
that's why I said earlier, it's on the it's the responsibility of the NBA players who own these teams to get it in shape and get it in line. If it's such a circus, like people are saying that it is, it's up to these guys to get it up to the standard.
Yeah. And parents have to, Stop, not everybody. Number one, if somebody's trying to coach your child, we're in a day and age of technology. If he says he played pro ball, he played college ball, you can look that up. If he, a question I asked my 16-year-old earlier this evening: how can somebody who has never played past intramural basketball in college give you a pro level workout? What does he know about a pro level workout? But a lot of these guys, I got a pro level workout for you. Da, 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 da. Okay, so what is he doing for you in this pro level workout? And then what is what are you getting for your money with these teams? Like, one of the things that I do, I record both all the games from two directions, so you can scouts can see everything. I send out my rosters with little excerpts about every player on the team to see, the GPA, where he's from, what he or she wants to major in.
So are these requirements, or are these just things that you do on your own?
These are things that it's not just me, it's things that I've learned from other coaches, talking to college coaches. It's gotten to be right now to where I can literally shoot a text message and to a coach, and he's ready to listen.
Let's see. Thomas Jarrett says those guys in pro sports were destined gladiators from their past lives. There's no coincidence or free will living on earth, only judgment of the Heavenly Father. Well, that may be so, but right now, what we're talking about is the system that is scrutinizing the AAU system. And hey, Markrina, good to see you tuning in. Thank you for tuning in tonight. This is our focus tonight, is this AAU basketball system, because there are a lot of parents out here who need to know this information. This is something that I need to know as a parent of a student athlete, and many other people are going to be hearing for the first time. So Derek, I thank you for coming on and bringing us this information. I jotted down a few things. I was talking about grades with my son, because that's one thing, like you were alluding to earlier. If a coach tells a kid that his grades aren't important, then that's not going to be the good AAU coach for him. So how do we keep our kids from having that mental? Well, I know, but how would you keep your kid from hopping back and forth from school ball to AAU ball?
So number one, I have a relationship with the coaches of the players that play for me. Okay. And any good AAU coach is going to, okay, because a high school coach does not want his players sitting around playing Fortnite or Call of Duty all summer long. They want them in the game, they want them working out. So at the end of the season, and I get my roster, I'll email every one of the coaches. What do you need him working on? What do I see? What do you need? What do you need? What's your big thing? Because every coach is different. My son went to school in Austin, and his coach was vanilla. He didn't want no chocolate on his ice cream. He didn't want no sprinkles. He just wanted basic basketball. So you know what? We worked on straight, basic, fundamental basketball, defense, taking charges. Like and it wasn't just him. Once I started with him, because that's what originally happened, and then his teammates started gravitating to me to work out with me and so they ended up his senior year losing 3 games, and the third game was a playoff game. They were killing everybody, and the coach was very thankful. And so he was upset when I left Texas, because he was sending players to me. And it wasn't just him, it was other schools. And I even had, people don't realize this, people laugh, but I had a young man that was, he got out of juvenile parole. He was on juvenile parole. They called me to play for me. that young man is in college right now in Kansas.
Wow.
Because the whole point to me, a coach is there to change a young person's star. They're a mentor. A lot of these kids don't have a daddy, may not have a mama.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I appreciate about my son's high school coach, that we have a lot of kids that may not go home to a hot meal. So he makes sure, he and his wife make sure that all the kids eat every day.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question for you. For the players, for you as a coach, and you have a player and his mom is working all the time. That's all he's got, his mom, and all she knows is that her son wants to play basketball. How do you build a rapport or reach out to that type of parent?
I talk, like first off, before the season even starts, we have a parents meeting. If you can't make it, we'll figure out. I'll go meet with the parents, give them a little bit of my background, and invite them out. One of the things that my players, we don't wear our names on the back of our jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
We put family, which stands for focused athletic movement, instilling leadership in youth. So,
Nice.
so we are, I'm training leaders for tomorrow, not just ball players, young men and young women that are, ready to take it to the next level, that are ready to be the CEO of some company or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
I got one player right now that he's in college, he's in his junior year, but he's also got his own clothing company. So that's how he subsidizes his stuff. He took a mark off of me of when I was making uniforms and started doing his own clothing company. And
go ahead.
And so that you know what I do? I'm emergency management. My phone keeps going off because we're under a tornado watch too right now. So if I get under the, y'all know why.
Yeah.
But that young man and he's able to send money back home to his mama. And so I use my players to say, hey, this is what coach did for me. I had a kid who was a dope boy for real. I got him to put the dope down, and he's walking. He finished his degree. He's walking across the stage in 3 years.
See,
and
that's one of the biggest things that I support AAU for, because outside of school, kids really don't have a lot of things to do. And AAU ball, it not only gets them out of the streets, it also gets them under mentorship. It gets them under a positive male role model, somebody who's going to give them those things that they're not necessarily getting at home with the father not being there. And so that's the biggest thing from AAU ball that I take, because me as a father, by me not being in North Carolina with my son, the AAU circuit is filled with my family members and my brothers that I grew up with. And so I know that I have good people around my son still on the off season while he's doing his practicing and playing games as well. So he's got that mentorship while I'm not there.
Yeah, that was where we worked at is where we're on Camp Mabry is where my team practiced at, and
Awesome.
So that allowed a lot of young men to meet people that they normally wouldn't have met. Like when the two-star general walks in and is just there to watch practice and is proud of them, and like will take the time to talk to them, or a sergeant major. We had an SF sergeant major. Thanks, Terry. I'm glad that we cleared up some stuff for you. If you have, just hit us up if you got any other stuff.
Yeah, Terry. Thank you, Terry.
So many coaches, or I'm sorry, sergeant major walked in, and he's a special forces sergeant major.
Wow.
Yeah, so you already know that this man, for all of y'all that don't know, Special Forces Sergeant Major is the shit. So, and like the way I got the kids' attention, I'm like, oh, y'all play Call of Duty, right? And they're like, yeah. I say, well, he lives it. They sat down, and it was like he was a chief, and these are all his little braves. And they listened to everything he had to say about teamwork, leadership, everything. So
that's it, man. Let's see, Markrina said, "Wow, I like what he said, building them up because it's for a rounded life."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's the biggest thing for me. Like I said, there are a lot of coaches that are out there that want the best for these kids, like me. That want them to go off and, like my son's high school coach, he makes it to every one of his players' college graduations.
Okay. Okay. Let's see, what does this say? I can't read that. That's kind of small. Said load management isn't the the full isn't let's see, load management isn't the full of the NBA schedule. It's the toll of youth travel basketball playing 12 to 15 games a weekend to keep the monthly fees validated. That hurts the players later in life, and rookies are entering the NBA hurting. Youth hoops needs less games and more teaching.
Okay, on that one, Earl, I'll say this to that. Number one, you are correct. There should be less games. I don't. My players have never played more than 6 games in a weekend. But at the same time, they need to learn how to rest and recover. Mac, you know this from when we were in the military. We do PT 5 days a week, but we have the weekend to recover. These players, they practice and then they go to on the weekend. They travel somewhere. They're in a cramped, car. You got a 6'6" 14-year-old who's still growing, who's got growing pains the entire time, and he's traveling from Tulsa to Houston to play in a tournament, and he's sleeping on the floor. It does take a toll on a player, on a young person, and on top of it, they're not eating right. If you can't get it, everybody, on those weekends, there's no mom's home cooking. So, number one, I recommend to my players and their parents, we do cryotherapy, which is like an intense ice bath, and then we do do you remember the PASG pants? Well, they use those as massaging tools now for players' legs. So the load management, the 12, like anybody who's got a young person playing 12 to 15 games in the weekend is wrong. They should not be doing that, because that's, like he said, that's gonna hurt that child. Because at the end of the day, these are children who are still growing. Yes, he may be 6'6", 6'7". He's still a child. He's still growing, and you wonder why these kids have bad knees by the time they're 20 years old and they can't walk. That's a big reason why.
Yeah. My nephew, he played a lot of AAU ball, and by the time he hit college, he was feeling it in his knees and stuff like that. And he's one of those guys who jump out of the gym, so it took a lot of toll on his knees and stuff like that. That was he was always gone AAU, and where it developed him, and he got some good exposure. His body took an early toll.
And a lot of people a lot of parents don't realize that. And as far as the cryotherapy, any of these parents that are listening, a lot of these places will work out a deal if you can get the whole team to go, to where it's $15 for the session, for the entire session. And in the grand scheme of things, to help your child, it's well worth it. And I'm a big believer in it. I've watched it with my oldest son. I'm watching it now with my 16-year-old. I even took my wife and my 13-year-old last weekend, and my wife got out of that thing posing like she was Superwoman.
Yeah.
So, find a local cryo place. Sit, a lot of them will work. If you get 10 players, you got 10 players on the team, $15 a session once a week, every other week, whatever the case may be. If you really think about it, we blow that money on bull crap anyway. $15, we're gonna go stop and buy a Gatorade that we didn't need or water we could have just got at the house. So
my last question for you is this, man. I know it's getting kind of late and stuff. Do you think AAU is good for the NBA or is it bad for the NBA?
I don't know about for the NBA. I look at it as what I look at AAU is, so school ball is more structured, okay? And so some players are not able to show their talents, the things that they can do. Like, for instance, my oldest son, his coach didn't even know that he could play point guard, but he got recruited as one of the top combo guards in the state. His high school coach wouldn't even let him dribble the ball into court, but he could shoot the ball. So then he comes in, the coach comes to one of our games, he's like, I didn't even know you could dribble the ball like that. He's like, yeah, coach, been playing guard. Next thing you know, he's out there. But it's a good thing for players to showcase their talent. Big men, everybody wants to now shoot the three. I got a kid right now who is a banger, who reminds me of I cannot think of the guy's name, but he used to play for the Spurs. They used to call him the Red Baron. And he's just like him. He's a role player, but he's a body. And if you come across that middle, he's a brick wall. Old school.
Oh man, they need him at the Hornets right now, man. Charlotte Hornets need that dude right now.
Yeah, he's 17 years old and is one of the hardest working kids I know. And he's still growing. Wear a size 18 shoe. And parents are veterans too. So mom was a medic.
Oh wow, soldier medic. There we go.
Yeah. So I like to end with this. One of the things that I've gotten into is the U.S. basketball games, and it's a little bit different than AAU, and it's away from all the sport, the shoe team that's not Nike sponsor or anything like that. It's by halftime sports, and it is an Olympic style tournament. But it's state versus state, 9U through unsigned seniors. I know Oklahoma has a team, Arkansas has a team, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, Florida, California. We're trying to get more teams into it, and it is honestly one of the best tournaments I've seen as far as exposure. The kids have fun. The parents have fun. The kids actually, are friends. They end up becoming friends and developing friendships. So, in this day and age, when you and I played ball, somebody played ball, like you played in North Carolina, I played in Texas. We, unless we crossed paths at a tournament, we probably wouldn't have exchanged information. But these kids, they have social media, and these kids follow each other and pump each other up. So this thing is August 6th through the 8th this year. It's after the AAU season. It doesn't have anything to do with AAU or your select team. You just have to contact your local state director and go to the tryouts. Right now they have kids from the ESPN Top 100 coming in to play. It's going to be I'm talking about, when you say dogs, we got Rottweilers, we got Pit Bulls, Dobermans, Shepherd. Ain't no Chihuahuas in this one, so I won't take that back. We got the 9U, so we got a few Chihuahuas over there. But yeah, it's a dog fight, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're, look up the U.S. basketball games on Halftime Sports. If you got coaches, if your state's not represented, get with Coach Kim. We'd love to have you guys, and let's just keep it going, and let's get these kids to the next level. That's my big thing.
Hey, Derek, man, I appreciate everything.
Before Derek
Like
goes,
the comment said earlier, this information is needed. There's a lot of parents out here who have these questions and they just don't know who to ask. So I appreciate you so much for taking this time coming on, man, and schooling us on AAU ball and these things, man.
Oh,
before Derek
anytime.
leaves, before Derek leaves, we have another Twitter question, and that question
Okay.
is, what's the difference between park and recreation basketball and AAU basketball?
The level of competition. So, park, like your city basketball, honestly, I think, to be completely honest with you, my son started off at YMCA to see if this is really what they wanted to do. Okay, this is they're really ready to put in the work, because when you get into AAU, you're gonna be spending some cash. I don't care, unless you get on a team that is totally sponsored, and the only way you get on that is if your son or daughter is a beast. Okay, so because at the end of the day, the people that sponsor those teams want their name on a winning jersey. They don't just put their name on a jersey. So that's really the level of competition.
Okay, this is my question now. When you look at athletes' son, Bronny James, his younger brother, Carmelo Anthony's sons, are these kids really that good, or is the narrative pushed by their fathers and what's being showed on social media?
So you have a little bit of a mix of both. If you really think about that, okay, those kids have access to things that my son, Mac's son, doesn't have access to, because they have access to, like, Bronny has access to the trainers at the Lakers, has access to the coaches of the Lakers.
Wow.
If you really think about that. So my son doesn't have that access to all of that. So when it comes right down to it, those kids, some of those kids really are that good. Don't get me wrong. But I've also seen some of those kids, like Bronny came to Texas and he learned what Texas was about. The reason why they say everything is bigger and better in Texas. So, you know, it's a little bit, because a dog can be made anywhere. I tell people all the time, and I wish I had a picture of my son in the 7th grade versus how he looked by the time I got done with him. He was a short, chubby kid. His nickname was Cheeseburger. By the time he was 6'3", 185, that would fly on you in a second, cross you over, and take your girl, and then shoot a jump shot in your eye. By the time he was done, okay, his end of his senior year. And that was the year, honestly, with him, he came out the same year as Zion. And he, that prep school that LaMelo Ball went to, they recruited my son too. But he decided to go the college route. So there's, good and bad to it. But if you look at, I saw a video that my son was watching the other day. Ronnie sitting at the table eating. He had like prime cut steak meal with all the right vegetables, and then he was washing it down with a protein shake. You think about your son or my son. First off, we go get that steak at Walmart. Let's just be for real, and then whatever vegetables we get out the can, we might be able to get some fresh vegetables, but they damn sure ain't gonna wash that down with no protein shake. They try to drink soda or a Gatorade or something. So they have like complete, that's a whole different level of what they have. So these kids are, they have a bit of an advantage with that. If you look at,
I'm sorry. So then for those parents who don't have the economics, is this why then when individuals approach them, I'm sorry, D, if that's all right, can I ask them this question?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, no, I respect, bro. So then those parents don't have the economics to challenge or to meet with these professionals. So is this why they take money and certain AAU teams have boosters around them. Because when I worked at Dominguez High School in Compton, I saw Tyson Chandler, man, like he was a millionaire already.
Yeah, that is a huge reason. You know, there's a guy here in Oklahoma that's trying to get on that right now with a bunch of players, talking about he wants them to sign a contract at 16, 17 years old. Yeah, I'm looking at that. Where you at? I need now.
That's my son. That's my son in North Carolina.
But he wants them to sign a contract, and he wants 30% of their salary if they go pro. So
Wow.
You know, you're looking at the Tyson Chandler situation. You know, I guarantee you, somebody in a purple suit with a derby hat on was making some money on the backside of that. You know what I mean? There's always somebody. So parents have to watch that too, especially, you know, parents that don't have the financial means. You know, pimps don't just pimp, you know, girls on the street. They try to pimp kids too.
Right. So then it doesn't start at the college level or high school level. It actually starts in AAU.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, back to you, D Mac. I'm sorry.
That's all right, my brother. I appreciate that. That was a great question. And Jeremiah said I went from 5'8" in middle school to 6'4" my freshman year in high school. Yeah, and this is my son Jeremiah. We started out talking about the AAU with him, and he brought up the whole point of high school having their own actual AAU teams, and that would alleviate a lot of those issues that they have with the AAU versus the high school. So when you said that, I was glad to hear you say that, because that let me know that he's got the right mindset. But so right now he's 16. He's playing on a team. He said they did okay in their tournament this year. He's got a decent relationship with his coaches. What should he really be concentrating on right now?
So he's going into his junior year.
Yeah, well, he's going into sophomore year, I believe.
Okay, so sophomore year, number one, concentrate on the PSAT. Okay, that's first and foremost. PACT, PSAT, and then, you know, fundamentals. That yeah, I can't stress that enough. Fundamentals on defense. You know, fundamentals on offense. I don't know how high you jump, Jeremiah, or things like that. Learn how to, you know, sacrifice yourself, take charges. One of the things that I taught my son to do, and he set the record at his school. He took 23 charges that they counted for the season, set the school record. Okay, you got to be disciplined. Coaches will love to see that discipline on, you know, autonomous. If you want to make that varsity squad next year, I don't know if you made varsity this past year, but be first in the gym, last out, shoot your free throws. When it's, you know, time to get your workout on, do your workout. Coach, they got to question you about your grades. Your grades are always on point. Don't be a behavioral problem in school. Okay. Those are huge red flags to coaches. Make sure that your counselor knows who you are. Oh, there you go. No, make sure your counselor knows who you are. So when have you registered for the NCAA clearinghouse and in NAIA clearinghouse to make sure you're on track to be eligible to play sports in college? That's a huge thing. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot, you know, I didn't know that they did that with and luckily we found out midway through his junior year and he got him registered. So go ahead and as soon as your young man, young lady walks through the door of their freshman year, then you need to have them registered at the NCAA clearinghouse, and you put that stuff in there, and they'll let you know. And you have a clearinghouse number. But that's one of the most important things is getting registered for that.
Okay.
and just keep those grades up. Be there when the coach, be a gym rat. Let coach know that you're there. Get in the weight room. Don't be scared of the weights.
He's got the build of Zion Williamson right now, man. So my main thing with him, the way my son is built up, the same as when Zion came into the league, is the knees and the ankles. How you
Yep.
land and taking the pressure off of those knees and ankles by him having such a big frame. Because I know that was the main worry with Zion coming in.
Yeah, and then, one of the things that's also so good is depending on the school that you're going to go to, that they're going to want a recommendation letter or two from a teacher. So make sure all your teachers love you. That they're like, oh, Jeremiah, oh, yeah, I trust him on a date with my daughter. That.
I know that's my son. They might not want to do that.
But just that. I mean, I don't care if you got to flirt with old Miss Jenkins just to make her feel good. With she gonna write that letter. Sometimes you got to take one for the team, Jeremiah.
Well, that's one thing. Charm runs in the family, so I don't think you'll have an issue with getting that letter from Ms. Jenkins. But Derek, man, I want to thank you so much, man. You've given us so much information, and a lot of parents are gonna benefit from this, man, because a lot of people out in the dark, and just like in school, people be embarrassed to ask the question because they don't want to look dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll sit there and they'll jeopardize their kid because they scared to ask the question. So, man, I'm glad you was able to come on here and really give us a lot of information that's necessary, man. We have to do this again.
Yep. Also, film. Sorry, forgot about that. Film.
Film. Good deal.
I'm daddy go on eBay and get a high def camera. Record the game from up top at the top of the bleachers. Record every game because you can't trust the coaches to give it to you.
Good deal. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and let you off here, brother. I appreciate everything. We're gonna do this again soon, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, dude.
Jay, thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir, man. Amazing content, brother. We really appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right, now. D man, you on point tonight, man.
Oh man, this information was great, man. It's something that like I said, me as a parent, I know I wanted this information. I needed this information, and I know it's a lot of parents out there that needs this information as well with your child going on to the next level. Because, like you said, you have the single moms who she's working, and all she knows is that my baby is playing ball. She don't know any of the details, any of the things that he needs, any of the registration.
Wow.
That. That's what this episode is for. Those single moms and single dads who just know that their baby is playing ball. So I hope it helps, man.
Hey, everybody do me a favor. D-Mac's page is up. You'll be able to see this video in about an hour on his page. Make sure you recommend it to someone. If you don't know D-Mac's page, his page title is his name. It's Deacon Mac. D-E-A-M. Oh, no, D-E-A-N. Deacon. Spell it for me, D.
D-E-A-C-O-N-M-A-C-K.
There it is on screen. Write that down. Go to D-Mac's page and subscribe. Do us that favor. You know what? We didn't ask for anything. Go do that for us right quick. Let me get Taufik's comment on here.
Taufik, good to see you, brother. It says they want them students to have a perfect life, but them boys ain't perfect. Say something crazy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We definitely have to raise these kids up in the way that they should go and teach them so that when they get in these type of situations that they'll know how to handle themselves. That's very important.
Right. So tomorrow at 11 o'clock, don't miss me, D-Mac and myself on with some frat brothers from Georgia. We're going to talk about to Samaj White, former player at Westchester High School, AAU player in Los Angeles, California, who ended up graduating from the CU by the name of Grambling State University. So be on with us tomorrow. Some of the people that represent him are Joe Torre, and a couple of other artists. You don't want to miss that tomorrow. You don't want. What's up, Vern? You don't want to miss that tomorrow. You want to keep rolling with them, deal? You got to go.
Yeah, I'm going and head on out, man. I want to thank everybody who tuned in, everybody that chimed in with your questions and your comments. It makes the show go a whole lot smoother and a lot better. So, yeah, thanks to everybody. Thanks to Derek for coming on and bringing us that real important information tonight. Thank you, Jay, for moderating and everything, man. It's been an awesome show.
Hey, man, I appreciate the people on this channel, man. And Brother Vern say he's already registered to your channel as a subscriber. That's what we tell Uncle Vern. Yeah. Hey, he's just a real guy, man, no matter what. Tafik is a real guy, man, no matter what. I love him because he knows how to put. I like him because he knows how to push the narrative. So we're gonna come on to where we're gonna have a panel talk this weekend. So stay tuned for the narrative and the card to come out because we're gonna have a panel talk to where we just gonna go at it, sports, and we're gonna have fun and let it go. All right, everybody, hey, be blessed. Have a beautiful evening. Be the best, and the best you will become. Until next time, peace.